Hey everyone, it's Busan Kevin. Now, just this afternoon, after work, I was walking around downtown and I was listening to a podcast that I listen to a lot. It's called Spark, and this is on Canadian Public Radio, and this podcast, essentially Spark is about technology, modern technology, how technology influences our lives, how it changes our perspectives, society, the way we look at society, interact with society, all this stuff. And they had a story where they had a guy talking about something that really struck a chord. It hit me. He was talking about cultural laziness. And I've realized that Busan Kevin, I've become culturally lazy. I guess I've thought about this before and I have realized it, but then I kind of get wrapped up again in that laziness. Now, what is cultural laziness? Well, basically, I've lived abroad twice. Okay, I lived abroad for about a 5.5-year stint, then I went back to Canada, now I'm living abroad again. And this time around, I'm here in Japan. Now the first time around, when I first came to Asia, I moved to Korea, and when I first moved to Korea, I didn't have a computer in my house, so I didn't have the internet. The only time I had the internet was at work, and I'd occasionally send an email back and forth to my folks in Canada, but that was about it. I didn't have the internet, and I had television, but I only had Korean television. I didn't really have any English channels at the time. Where I lived, there weren't a lot of foreigners. There were some, but not a lot. So basically, I found myself interacting with Korean people a lot. Found myself watching a lot of Korean TV, and also I was single. So I was out and I was interested in basically meeting local folks, indigenous people. Therefore, that was extra motivation to learn language. Now, I found myself kind of learning a lot about Korean culture fairly quickly. Not a lot, but and I was trying. But then over time, things changed. And by the time I was in my final year there, what would you find me doing on a typical morning? I would be sitting in Starbucks, having grande coffee, reading the International Herald Tribune, listening to my iPod of English music or podcasts, and basically I was in my own little cocoon. I was in Korea, but I was no longer in Korea. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Now, I find myself again in that situation. Here I am in Japan, and I'm really enjoying Japan. But at the end of the day, unlike many people who may watch my videos, I never planned to come here. Now I am here and I'm really enjoying it. Never catch me wrong on that one, never get me wrong. I really enjoy life here, and I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying it actually. It's quite nice. But there's a lot of people out there who watch these videos who for a long time wanted to come to Japan. They've studied the language, they've studied history, you want to come here. And you've learned a lot about it. I never had those aspirations. But I found myself in a situation because of my spouse. You know, I'm married to a Japanese woman, but we didn't meet in Japan, okay? So we met elsewhere where both of our native languages actually weren't the language of that country, okay? So, you know, we communicated in English, and, you know, here I am now in Japan, which it's wonderful, but I find myself, you know, downloading, you know, all of these podcasts. I love listening to podcasts from Canadian Public Radio, and podcasts about running, and podcasts about all these different topics of technology and social issues, and you know, I know, like, I'm really tuned in with what's happening in Canadian politics and back in Canada, but I'm a little out of the loop here. Sometimes I'm reading things on some websites about the news and this and that, but I mean, I'm walking along with my iPod, I'm listening to English podcasts. You know, I'm sitting in a coffee shop reading Runner's World magazine, which my lovely mother is so kind to send to me. You know, and I find myself, again, I'm becoming culturally lazy. I'm in that little zone of kind of like English only all the time. I'm at work where people don't speak Japanese. I have students who don't speak Japanese, and then I get on the train, I put on my iPod, I'm listening to, again, Canadian Public Radio podcasts, or leafing through an English magazine, and then I get home and I'm watching YouTube videos of J-vloggers who are just talking in English, and so I realized I've become culturally lazy. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there who find themselves in the same situation. I mean, in Korea, I met people in Korea who'd been living there for 10 years and couldn't read or write Korean. Now, it boggled my mind. By the way, just in case for all of you out there who know a little about Korean, reading, if you're into Japanese language, reading and writing Korean, it would be like learning how to read hiragana, and then it's finished. That's all you need to learn. So it's a simple phonetic alphabet. And I met people who've been living there for 10 years and couldn't do that. I met people, a lot of people who are in the same situation. I've met people here in Japan, people in Korea who are in that situation of being culturally lazy. And again, like I said, I'm not calling the kettle black. I admit that I am. So I'm gonna make some changes. I was supposed to start actually a new Japanese class last week, but because of the H1N1, the influenza, it was canceled. So hopefully that'll be starting up again this week. So I've got to make a concerted effort to stop being so culturally lazy and get to learn more about Japan and experience more about this awesome country and awesome culture and language. So those are my goals, to learn more of the language and just learn more in general. So it's time to start putting some Japanese music on this iPod. And I want to say thanks to Hikosaemon. Actually, he introduced me to a really cool Creative Commons website for Japanese Creative Commons music. So thanks, Hikosaemon. I appreciate it. And yeah, so I'm culturally lazy, I admit it, and it's time to fight it. So, wish me luck. And that's all for now. It's Busan Kevin. See you later.